Welcome to the Monday Mindset, where we gather every single week to feed our minds, get tips and strategies, and hopefully get you guys motivated for an amazing week. If this is your first time here, type first in the comments. And if you're watching replays, go ahead and play along and type what we ask you to type. If for some reason you would like to receive SMS reminders so you don't miss one of these Monday Mindsets, type SMS in the chat. And we have new email reminders that we just set up this week. So we're going to send something out so you guys can get email reminders as well. If you'd like email reminders, type email in the chat and we'll get those links out to everyone. Now, for my new folks, my name is Lisa Parziale and I own a 7-figure agency in North Texas. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about doing something, getting unstuck. What do you do when the world stops spinning? And I quoted myself in the Facebook group and other places to say this: when the world stops spinning and you feel stuck, pivot and do something to get it turning again. And it's a great mantra to live by, but sometimes it's very hard to embrace, right? When we get stuck, when we're feeling down, when we're paralyzed with inaction, it's very hard to want to have that motivation to do anything. So that's what we're going to talk about today and how maybe we can get unstuck. So I'm going to take us back to March of 2020. And for me, that's when the world stopped spinning from COVID. And I'm letting people in as they come, so excuse me when I pause. In 2020, the world stopped spinning for most of us. Colette and I were in Destin, Florida, where we spent 6 weeks at a beach house, enjoying ourselves. Sure, we were working, but we really were immersed in having a great time. But we started hearing about this little thing called COVID back then. And unfortunately, we weren't really watching the news much. So we were very unconnected and not very concerned about what was going on. But then within about a week before we left, Colette went to the store to get toilet paper and there was none on the shelves. And we had a week left at this vacation home with no toilet paper. That caught our attention. That got us to think. But you know what? We had another week before we left for home. So we decided to stay and not, as we called back then, overreact or panic. And we did call the people who rented us the home and said, hey, can you bring us some toilet paper? And they did. When we got home though, things got real super quick, right? And I know you guys are probably thinking back to the time in March or April of 2020, right? Since we had been gone for 6 weeks, we were in desperate need of supplies because before we left, we had really just kind of worked to make sure nothing was in the house since we were going to be gone so long. And it was then that I knew something huge was happening because when I went to the grocery store, the shelves were empty. I had missed that pre-pandemic buying. There was no toilet paper, no rice, no pasta. Most of the canned foods were gone. Most of the shelves were empty. Now, I bought what I could. There was very little meat. Frankly, there was very little everything. And if you guys had not gone during that time, it was something I'd never experienced in my entire life that all of a sudden, I wasn't sure I'd have the resources to live. So I bought what I could, but it made me very, very nervous. I mean, how long would this last? Like, how long was this going to go on? I hadn't much thought about the supply chain, for example. That hadn't occurred to me at all. And so for me, I thought this was going to be maybe short-lived, if that made sense. But it was the first time I started panicking. I started feeling anxiety because we had very little stockpiled. In a matter of days, everything started shutting down. It was unnerving. I was very worried about our safety and our future. And it was then that I quickly realized that this was going to impact our business, that the agency that we worked so hard to build was in jeopardy. And I readily admit, I panicked. I was scared. I was worried for my safety, my family, and my business. And being who I am, I also worried about my customers, and not just, hey, will they call me and quit? But are they going to make it? Are they going to be okay? Some of these people, I had spent decades being in their lives, being part of their businesses. I had just hired a brand new project manager. We had just solved most of our problems in business, and we're starting to live that freedom lifestyle. And in an instant, I felt, man, this is unfair. This is insane. And this could all crumble so quickly. I mean, how were we supposed to know that something like this could happen, right? This is a once in a generation or even more, once in a century. But it all could be gone in an instant. So what did I do? Well, I'll be frank. I put my head down on my desk and I cried. I felt very scared. I was overwhelmed and I was frustrated. And I had felt that way before in our business, but I didn't feel like I had as much to worry about back then. I wasn't worried about this other thing because this time I felt out of control. I had no idea what I was going to do. And in that moment for me, the world stopped spinning. I couldn't see a way to get it started again. So I did nothing. And that gives me goosebumps just saying that. I literally did nothing. I sat at my desk many days watching YouTube videos, doing nothing. I watched the online death toll counts and going to the websites where they were telling us how bad this pandemic was. And all the while, I was doing nothing for our business. I watched the media and started watching the news stations, which, by the way, only added to my anxiety, fear, and stress. I did nothing. The phone wasn't ringing. No new business came in. Yet, still, I did nothing. I don't know if you guys were in the same boat, if you guys were going down the same trajectory, or some of you guys might still be there today. But I was distraught. I was scared. For the first time in my entire life, not just for my business, felt very mortal and felt like the world could crash down upon me because it stopped spinning. So I did nothing. But I was distraught, and all that kept going through my mind over and over, it was almost like a broken record, over and over and over. Man, when are my customers going to start calling me and canceling? I worried about it. I thought about it. It kept me up at night. Yet still, I did nothing. But after several weeks of inaction, after several weeks of mourning the loss of my old life, of mourning the loss of my business, I realized something, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. If I did nothing, everything would crumble, and I would lose everything. I had to do something. And again, lots of goosebumps thinking about it, because the 7 weeks or the months of inaction, had I not got the gumption, had I not pulled myself out of the pity party I was having for myself, yes, the world was falling apart. A pandemic is scary. COVID is scary. But what I was really upset about was the level of success I had just come to realize. The house I was just about to build, the life I was about to have, looked like it was all gone. That is what I was mourning the most. That is what was changing my world. And I knew I had to do something, because if I didn't, I would lose it all. And I was not willing to let it all go without a fight. So I started looking what I could do, right? Started thinking about, what can I do? And I started to have a work ethic again. So every day, and I don't know if this is you or if you can relate to this, every day while my friends and my family were posting on Facebook that they were on lockdown vacation, that they didn't have to work, and they were getting all these house chores done, and they were rearranging their closets and doing all these things that they had all this time to do, while they were doing that, I worked and I started strategizing. I did something. And it started gaining momentum. I focused on small tasks I could control. I stopped watching social media. I stopped looking at the sites that were showing me the death counts. I stopped engaging in the pity party I was in. I took really, really small actions that I thought may make an impact, because I wasn't sure. And the first thing I did that made the biggest impact was I called every single customer I had. I emailed them, I called them, I did everything I could to get them on the phone with me. And when they got on the phone, I reassured them that this would pass and they would come out on top if they did not panic and they simply did something. If they didn't buy into the "my business is going to fail" mentality. I started sharing with them my feelings and how, yeah, I totally panicked too. But then I started doing something. And I noodled ideas and thought of ways to keep their doors open, which helped keep our doors open. Over the next couple of months, things started to feel okay again. That's when I knew this pandemic would not kill my business. That's when I knew everything was going to be okay. Was it going to be the way it used to be? Not for a while, and maybe never. Maybe we never go back to the way it was. But I decided in a moment that I would make COVID the catalyst to do something different, to pivot my business. It was then that the world started spinning for me again. Now, I'm not saying it was easy. In fact, I made many, many mistakes along the way. I went down a lot of wrong paths. I came up with ideas that didn't pan out, but I would never have found the great ideas and the right solutions to save my business, to save my customers, and to bring our world back into some type of order had I not tried, had I just done nothing. I wouldn't have found the great new lead generation methods I'm using today, testing and going to be sharing with you in the upcoming months. I would have not found a new way of selling SEO, because every SEO lead became critical during the pandemic. And I would not be talking to you guys right now. This Monday mindset would not exist had I not done something, because doing something led me to this new line of business. It was then that I started dreaming up Agency Fast Track, the programs, the family, the community. Because in July of 2020, I also started reaching out to my friends in the business, to my contacts in our business, and to other people. And I realized they were struggling too, but many of them had not pivoted. They were failing. They were losing everything. And many of them were in despair. So I started thinking about, maybe it's a great time to put together a program that would help my friends. That's what I did. And I began to remember in that moment how much I loved being a trainer, how much I loved putting together programs, how much I loved trying to solve problems and then show others how to do what I did, how much I loved training, coaching, and helping others. And I wouldn't have gone down that path had COVID not happened, or had I not decided to do something. So today I promise to share with you the 5 things that I learned in the past 18 months that really helped me not only survive this pandemic, but generally helped me understand that these 5 things were also key to creating the initial success I had before the pandemic and the success I'm having now during the pandemic. And of course, the success I'll continue to have throughout my life. Because doing something matters. Inaction means nothing is going to happen. Doing something means something's going to happen. So to change your business and your life, let me share with you these 5 things to me that were hugely impactful to remember and to remind me of why and how I want to and could succeed. So number 1 is simply what we've been saying, taking action. Even tiny baby steps can transform any business. Any steps forward are progress, even if they lead to steps backward. Because most of the time, you've heard, I take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. That's still a 1-step net gain. It might seem small, but if you keep doing it and keep pushing, something will happen. If you do nothing, nothing will happen. So when you're panicked, when you're feeling stuck, when you're stressed, when you're not sure how to move your business forward, think about just taking a small step. Think about just doing something little, something that can give you the momentum to move forward in your business. You've made a decision to make a change by doing something. You've made a decision to figure it out. You're doing something. Number 2, I realized that I had been doing both pre-pandemic and during pandemic is when I had no clue what to do. That's often the times when I was most creative. Those are the times when something came to me that I would have never thought of when times were good or when I wasn't stuck. I was lost in the first half of 2020. I fumbled a lot. I felt sorry for myself. But with no idea what to do, I started having ideas I would likely never had if things were great. Now look, not all of them panned out. Some of them, in fact, turned out to be a waste of time and effort. But I had to find what would work. I had to try different things, new things. I couldn't do business the old way. And it helped me realize that my journey to success was the same way. I just hadn't thought about it before, that I was going down paths, sometimes succeeding, sometimes turning around, coming back and going down different ones. So when you have zero idea, that's when you're going to be most creative. That's when I would suggest you sit down with a pen and paper and anything that comes to your mind, write it down and keep thinking and keep thinking. Because one thing is the catalyst to the next thing. And all of a sudden, you have a great idea. Here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that Wrigley's, the company Wrigley's, so Wrigley's Spearmint gum, was invented during the Great Depression? The company had been in a different business, that during that Great Depression, they weren't going to be able to sustain. And they came up with gum. Gum. 5 cents. It was affordable back then. And we all know what happened. Wrigley's is still about today, right? They had creative ideas. Sometimes having no idea is actually the best idea, because it's going to lead you to better ideas. But again, you simply have to start doing something. I think you're getting the mantra here. When you're stuck, don't quit, do something. Okay, number 3, people want to follow strong leaders. In the face of fear, people always look to a leader. It doesn't have to be as pivotal as a pandemic. It could be, oh my gosh, I just started my business. I'm fearful. I'm fearful I won't succeed. I'm fearful I will succeed. They're looking now for a leader. People in the face of fear look for or to a leader. So that means your customers look to you as that leader, no matter what's happening in the world, no matter if there's a pandemic. They're looking at you. You have to be that leader. That's why I eventually came to my senses and started reaching out to my customers when I finally stopped feeling sorry for myself, because I knew that doing nothing would result in them quitting. But at least reaching out was doing something, even if it was a Hail Mary. Instead of thinking to myself, if I call them, I give them the opportunity to quit. Instead, I was a leader and I called them and I reassured them that we would be working to help them get through this pandemic. In some cases, I assured them that even if they could not pay me, I would continue to work for them during the pandemic. If they needed changes to their website, we made them and we didn't charge them. Why? Because I was a leader. I came in and said, look, I know what to do. I am going to help you. Even if we make mistakes together, we are going to get through this. Because at the end, I wanted to make sure they were still with us. And 90% of the customers we had before 2020 were still with us or are still with us today. Now, not all of them did we lose to the pandemic. We only literally lost a handful of customers to the pandemic. And I attribute that to the fact that I was a leader. I created webinars and started inviting all my customers and my marketing friends to webinars. I got my CPA to come in and tell us all about PPP loans and the SBA loans and give us information. Those webinars actually led to some of my friends and customers actually securing loans that they might not have otherwise, that helped them navigate through the pandemic, that helped them keep their doors open. I was the leader that thought to do that. And I did it before most other companies were doing it. It's funny, I saw months later after we had done it, I saw big banks doing it and I saw other companies do it. By then it was too late. The money was gone. That is what being a leader is about, doing something. And I, in fact, did something. Number 4, I got out of my comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone is essential for growth, right? Whether it be during a pandemic or not in a pandemic. Because when we get out of our comfort zone, we actually find things that we wouldn't have seen while we were just letting it ride, right? Process is very healthy, but routine is very limited. So knowing the difference between process and routine is key. Process is ever changing. Routine rarely changes. So we have to get out of our routines. And when you see yourself in a routine, do something to change it, right? Get out of your comfort zone. Don't be just okay with what's going on. Don't be just okay with the level of success you have, good or bad. Had the pandemic not happened, I likely would still be doing what I was doing. While that would have felt safe, we likely would have not, had a bigger than normal growth rate. We would have been on track to do maybe a little bit more than we did the previous year. Instead, we were forced to get out of our comfort zone, right? I'll tell you, our company has expanded. We've hired more people during the pandemic than before. By getting out of our comfort zone, we invited change into our business. And change can be a catalyst for something big just by doing something. Number 5, and probably the most important and why you're here today and why we are in existence now. Never stop learning. No matter how good you are, no matter what you think you know, no matter how great your processes are, the act of learning always broadens your horizon. We think in learning, hey, we picked up this nugget, right? That gold nugget. Where did it come from? Learning. Being around others today, hopefully. And I know in the Monday mindset, we don't have a lot of interaction. We save that for our programs. In our programs, we talk, we share screen, we show each other's faces. Being around others inspires change and success. Being exposed to other ideas, not just mine, and other processes will inspire our own ideas. We don't always copy what we learn in training, but it is the catalyst for growth, and it helps us find new ideas and new things we can do. For example, when I was creating this course, I hired a business coach during the pandemic to help me learn how to sell my program on webinars. Why? Because I wasn't very good at it, because it made me uncomfortable, because I didn't like it. I literally hired a business coach to help me get over my fear, my discomfort. I also bought a course. And during the pandemic, I spent $6,800 on a course to better understand Facebook lead generation. Just these two things, and I did many more things, but these two things helped me create my programs, sell my programs, and create a new source of revenue for me and my company that netted me over $200,000 in that period. Just because I went out and learned something. I invested in myself. I invested in me. I furthered my learning and it paid off in dividends. Again, I did something. So if you're catching the 5 things I was going to share with you, it's simply you have to do something and move forward. And these 5 things are what helped me turn things around during a pandemic. But incredibly, I realized they were also the things that helped me build the business in the first place, keep it running, and again, will keep me running forever. Even if it's not in this business, I know I'll pivot and do something different. I'll change because I will never work for anyone other than myself again. These things were the catalyst for new ideas, new lines of businesses, new hopes. And 2021 might be one of our best years ever. Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy I needed a pandemic to push me out of my comfort zone. You see, I was comfortable with my business in 2019. I was enjoying the life I had built for myself. I was enjoying my success so much so that I got super comfortable, which isn't bad. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would gladly rather be there than have this pandemic. But since it came to light, hey, it pushed me out of my comfort zone. So if you're stuck, if you're feeling down, if you have no idea what to do with your business, with your agency, I can tell you this: doing nothing is not the answer. If you have zero clue where to start, just do something, anything. Take a step forward in your business. Because remember, when you actually have no idea what to do, that's when you're likely to be much more creative and open to new ideas. And if you can't think of a new thing to try, that's what I'm here for, right? Learn from someone who has tried most of it, who is definitely a thought leader, a pivoter. Yeah, I had my downtime. We all do. Yep, I cried too during the pandemic. But I picked myself up and turned things around. That's how I started my business. That's how I succeeded in my business. And that's how I saved my business from a pandemic. That's also how Agency Fast Track, the family, the entity, the programs within it, was born during that pandemic. That's when I spent months trying to understand what led to my success before 2020. It was the months of July through December of 2020 that I soul searched, that I deeply went down the path to figure out what I had done to be successful, because I knew it was going to help my friends when I built the program, but I also knew it was going to help me. It was going to help me turn things around from this pandemic. And in that journey, that's when I realized my beliefs and my resolve were probably the biggest things in my success. More than skills, more than tools. So if you're stuck and not sure what to do something. Do anything. You want to go from a stressful, no idea how to get clients that are not low paying, oftentimes sucky, cranky clients, to a business that feels like a well-oiled machine that delivers amazing customer value, high profit margins, and the freedom to actually live even in a pandemic. I have learned so much in the past 18 months. I'll tell you, the only way you're going to get that business is to do something. Now, I always like to inspire you every Monday, but I'm also here to tell you about our programs. I know how to help you. I know how to get you unstuck. I know how to motivate you. I know how to deal with your fears, your challenges, where you are in your business. And I know you may be tired and feel like you don't have time for this, and you're exhausted and you're frustrated and you just don't know if you want to do this anymore. It's then that you're tired and have no time. That's when you need to do something even more, because if you don't, you'll regret it. We built a world-class program, and many of the people I see right now are in those programs. They were built for people just like me and you. It's weird to say that I built a program for people like me, because I needed it during the pandemic to help me get unstuck. I had to go back and figure out what was, keeping me stuck. And to be quite frank, my beliefs and my resolve were the two biggest things. And our programs are designed to get you started to do something to change your business and your life. So I'm not going to speak too much about it. If you'd like to meet with me and you haven't yet, to strategize your next steps, type "do something" in the comments. Do something. Just type that in the comments. If you have met with me already and we've talked about strategies in our programs, what will be the catalyst to help you move on? You need to get in one of our programs. We can help you. So for those of you who haven't met with me, reach out. type do something. If you're watching the replay, type do something. I'll reach out to you this week. I'll reach out to you quickly. And if you are stuck, feeling paralyzed with fear, like I was during the pandemic for a few weeks, or you're feeling simply lost, you need to do something more so than anyone. Okay, guys, I hope this Monday mindset really helps you get motivated to fast track your businesses. I hope these Monday mindsets get your head thinking and really pumps you up to want to do better, to look at this week and say, man, I can really do some things, okay? Every step you take brings you closer to success. Every one. Being here, doing something. Let it be the catalyst for taking your life back. Remember, if you'd like to make a change in your business, type do something in the comments. Guys, I hope this Monday mindset gets your week off to an amazing and productive start. Remember, when you change your mindset, you change your business and your life. Thank you for joining us on our Monday mindset. Have a productive and profitable week, everyone, and go do something.